Warning. The following content contains weeaboos, anime, Japanese stuff, ThinkPads being used for non-productive tasks, and most importantly, anime stuff. Viewer discretion is highly advised.
Why, yes, I'm a weeb. How can you tell? Anime, and by extension manga, has always been one of those things that just kind of never grew old with me. I've basically been watching anime since I was like a non-conscious little baby because my cousins would watch anime and I would get babysat by their mom. Obviously, as I got older, my tastes changed and stuff, but basically for the most part, I've been watching it, well, ever since I was just a wee little baby. There was a point in high school where I was like, oh, anime's actually not cool, it's cringe, girls don't like guys that like anime. And then I graduated from high school and quickly realized that I had already peaked and it was all downhill from here. And so I came crawling back to my faithful old friend for comforting shows and entertainment during times of much sadness and much regret. Even now as I get older, I do definitely watch way less anime because I just don't have the energy to get invested into shows as much anymore, which is crazy. Like watching TV, what are you doing? You're just sitting doing nothing. But for whatever reason, it takes effort for me to start a series, and I can't do it like I used to, where I would watch several series within a year. I can't do it. At one point though, I was actually so much of a hardcore weeb that I was actually seriously studying Japanese for about 3 years. I actually got reasonably well enough at it that I just barely passed my JLPT N3, which is something I just did for fun. But unfortunately, with adult life comes adult problems and adult obligations, and basically for the past almost 3 years now, I basically stopped studying, and well, my abilities in Japanese have really tanked as a result. With everything going on, I just basically haven't had the motivation or the drive or energy to sit down and read things and watch things because, well, it takes effort. When it's a language that you don't know, it really does take a lot of effort to try and process things and understand things. And when you're all worn out and tired at the end of the day, and then, you try and sit down and read something, and then you don't understand parts of it, and you gotta take time to go look it up, and then you realize, oh, I learned this actually like 2 months ago, why am I forgetting it? Then you just get mad at yourself. It just sucks. It's not fun. And so yeah, for that reason, I just stopped studying it less and less and less, and my skills now suck, and I kind of feel bad about it because I was like kind of really at the beginning of working my way towards what you could call fluency, and now I'm anything but. So it definitely sucks when you spend a lot of time and even money on something and you kind of just step away from it and lose it all almost. And so that's kind of where the idea for this video came in because, well, back when I was studying Japanese, like rather seriously, there was a point in time where I kind of stopped having material to be interested in, and it was worrying me. So I went to the drawing board and I quickly came up with a solution to that problem. Why don't I mix Japanese with something that I really like? Vintage computers. And this ended up being a hugely successful thing to do. Amongst some of the things I did to mix Japanese and old hardware together is I would find like random old like software or like desktop accessories, like old visual novels and stuff, and I would just buy them because like they were dirt cheap. That decision would actually ultimately lead to me reading my first visual novel, believe it or not. Never read any up to that point, and it was entirely in Japanese, which is, I'm still super proud of that to this day. But it was almost like after spending half a year, almost a year, messing with old laptops that I would buy from Japan, as well as the old software and stuff that I would buy from Japan, I kind of just got massively burnt out. It was actually after I had finally finished the enormous 3-month-long task of trying to get through one single character's route in the first VN I basically ever played that like I just collapsed. And as I said, I never really recovered from it, which is really unfortunate because more than just, learning a language for some silly little hobby, I was actually learning a language that could maybe help me in the future, especially if I do want to go to Japan, which, well, I do. I just don't have the money for it right now. Having that third language under my belt is kind of essential for meeting more people with like-minded hobbies and interests, as well as also maybe just like helping me with life in general, because, like anything can happen, right? It might be that at some point in the future, something happens and it was like, damn, Would have been better if I had dusted off my Japanese and been better at it. I really have no idea if any of this rambling makes sense. I promise it's all for something. I'm just really bad at putting my thoughts together kind of on the spot. The gist of it is that right now I'm feeling quite remorseful that I've slept on my Japanese for like 2 years now. And I want to try and create a fun environment to kind of go into whenever I want. But as I've kind of been showcasing, as I've been rambling in this video so far, you've been seeing that I do also have a lot of that software that I talked about. Some of it is just random stuff, and other stuff is actually things that are from series that I really like. Back when I was like really hardcore studying Japanese and I decided to do the whole vintage computers Japanese sort of mumbo jumbo thing, I was buying tons and tons and tons of just junk 1,000 to 2,000 yen laptops from Japan. And in most cases, they actually kind of worked. The issue I was constantly having with them is that a lot of them were just really messed up from sitting for so long. Like the little clock batteries would leak and damage the motherboard. And I did fix a couple that were like damaged, but they would never really work quite right. And the screens, they always ended up being totally junk. And that's actually a problem with a lot of old laptops these days. The backlights are really starting to go bad on them, and it produces this like brownish, yellowish tinge to the screen. It's just not good to look at, and they're also very dim. The problem is that when you buy junk laptops, well, you don't know what you're getting. You can't even go in person to see it. And so a lot of these laptops that I'd kept and sold on and scrapped for parts and stuff, I don't have them anymore. Like, I got rid of all of them. So all these little environments, as you could call them, that I created for myself to kind of just jump in and mess around with some old Japanese software, some old Japanese games, VNs, whatever. It's all gone now. I don't have anything. And yeah, I could go and buy yet another 1,000 yen junk laptop, but I'm over it. They're very expensive to ship. You never know what you're going to get. You might need to end up finding another one to replace a part that's broken. I think I would rather just buy a cheap random laptop local to me. And so that's kind of where this brilliant idea comes into play. Let's go and make a cheap, fun little way to get into some 90s Japanese VNs, games, and software. As cool as it would be to run this stuff on another sort of JDM style laptop, I'm not interested in breaking the bank here. Let's do it as cheap as possible, while of course trying to keep it as fun as possible. Anyways, I've been yapping about my own nonsense for long enough, so why don't I go ahead and show you guys what I got. Although you guys probably already know from the title of the video, but anyways, it's a ThinkPad. Not only was this the cheapest laptop that was local to me, spoiler alert, I had to drive 50 minutes one way to go get it. I just kind of figured it would be absolutely iconic to do completely unproductive things on a business laptop that was meant solely for productivity. Yes, I love my ThinkPad. I use it for VNs, Doujin games, and other silly homemade anime-inspired software. Yes, the American-made ThinkPad, made in America, except we're running Japanese software on it. But yeah, I picked it up for $25 Canadian. I actually knew the guy who was selling it. That was a whole other story that was kind of funny. And it does have some problems, but it was 25 bucks, and it's one of those older, like, it's a ThinkPad R51, but it's basically just a rebadged T42. So like, it has the Radeon Mobility 7500, the Pentium M, I think it's 1.6. When I got it, it had 1 gig of RAM, but we're actually going to do something about that. We're going to downgrade it. Yes, I do have a couple silly ideas for this silly little ThinkPad, and, well, let the video truly begin, because this is where it starts. The first thing we need to talk about is the screen. So here's the laptop itself right now. Kind of in pieces, unfortunately. Because I tried to do something a little bit clever. The long story short is that I tried to replace the screen with actually a lower resolution panel. If you watched my video a while back about making a gaming laptop, I do like to downgrade the screens, especially when it comes to like these older devices. Their high resolution panels honestly weren't even that good. This was the screen that was originally in it, and it was shot. Like, it was absolutely shot. It's one of those SXGA, like, super high resolution panels, but it's like a super early version. So like, not only could you kind of like see the mouse cursor sort of like trailing a little bit, it was almost like a passive matrix display. Like, there was definitely latency with this screen, which I mean kind of makes sense. It's an early high resolution screen, but more importantly, now I'm stupid and I didn't get any video or pictures of it, but the screen is screwed. There's like these massive blotches all over it. Like it's not doing good. So it needs to go into the garbage. Yeah, RIP, you won't be missed. The screen that's in it now is actually a known good panel that I harvested from a free ThinkPad that I got. The only problem is that the cable for the SXGA and the XGA screens, despite kind of having the same sort of look and connector and everything, well, they just don't seem to be compatible. Like, you turn on the laptop and the screen lights up because the backlight illuminates, but you don't get any picture at all. So we kind of need to change that cable. This cable from a somewhat controversial country at the moment just came in the mail, and it's supposedly the right one as I understand it. So yeah, now I gotta take this whole thing apart, and while I have worked on T42s and whatnot in the past, I don't know how much different, if at all, an R50 is, and well, I guess we're gonna find out. Hopefully I don't have to remove the entire palm rest to change this cable, but it's looking like I'm gonna have to, and oh god, I hate doing this. Oh my god. Existence is pain. Look at all these screws, like Lenovo, IBM, whoever. Do you really need that many screws? I will admit though, being able to just take a top cover off, even if it is a bunch of screws, but like actually removing the top cover was so easy. So props to IBM for that. That was a good design. There is good news though. This cable says SXGA Plus, so I think this will work. Wait a minute. What? 2008? What? Was IBM really still selling these like mobile Pentium computers with like a Radeon 7500 in them? In 2008? What? Anger, frustration, remorse, regret. These are just a few of the words I would use to describe my feelings toward this laptop right now. However, it's time to see if the great effort that I went through just to replace this stupid screen was worth it. Yeah, baby, let's go! So I've got my light back on so you can see just how like decently nice and bright this screen is. The only flaw it has, and I didn't actually notice this until now, but there is a pressure point there. I would much rather that than a massive blotch and a very dim display with like a mouse cursor that lags. There is also a stuck red pixel. You won't be able to see it, but it's like right there. And if we want to run Windows 98, of course, anything sort of beyond 1024 by 768 is not very nice looking. It is a very low resolution pixelated operating system, and to run things like old games, old VNs, and old software in general, we need a nice lower resolution panel. So awesome. Part of the reason why I suffered so much with replacing the display cable though is because the one that got sent to me, while it is technically like the exact same thing with the same parts and connectors and whatnot, the length of it was very different. I also took the liberty of downgrading the RAM to 256 megabyte PC333, so this will be the perfect amount for Windows 98. Oh hey, how are you? It's been a while. Well, not for you, but definitely for me. Probably been about like 2 months almost since I last filmed the clip you just saw, but we're here and it's finally done. We're finally finished with this stupid thing. Now, to save a ton of time, I'm basically just going to describe it as I wanted to do something really funny with this laptop, and we're not even counting the screen situation, and long story short, it ended up being a mistake that I doubled down on, but we made it work at the end of the day. It just took 2 months. But anyways, you don't need to hear me rant about how I have really stupid ideas. All you need to know is that we need to actually come together in a celebration and celebrate a big life change for this IBM ThinkPad R51. Why don't we show to the world, little ThinkPad, what has happened to you in the time since the last clip. Yes, my friends, that's right. I would like to congratulate the ThinkPad R51 on becoming the first transracial IBM ThinkPad laptop. You are now an honorary Japanese citizen. The ThinkPad quite literally had surgery to become Japanese, but now it has this cool, little gross, very dingy used Japanese keyboard that I quite literally had to perform surgery to get it to work in here. But it works! and it's not going anywhere. Was this at all necessary? No. Was it fun? No. Does it look cool? Absolutely. And of course, to honor the now small Japanese roots that this laptop has, I had to give it a Microsoft Bimbos sticker. Never mind the fact that Bimbos was like out of business before this laptop even existed, but I thought it was kind of funny, right? Like, this laptop seems to have been made in 2008, and even by then it was already like an old, not so good laptop, and that was kind of what Bimbos was. From what little we know, it was like a used computer store that basically sold like really cheap old stuff before it went out of business. So like, that's perfect. That's honestly like the most befitting sticker you could put on this laptop. I saved you guys the hassle of having to watch me install Windows 98 because nobody wants to see that. That's boring and honestly a miserable process. But now that we're here, let's finally go ahead and look at some of the programs that I want to show you and that I plan on running on this laptop now that it's kind of more or less fully set up. Oh yeah, what a nice sound. I've already fully loaded this laptop up with most of the stuff that I want to use, but yeah, this is kind of a weird part for me because I'm not used to doing software demonstrations. I'm more so used to putting things together and showing the end result. Here it is. I mean, I have a lot of my stuff installed, as I said, but we can talk about some of the tools that I have as well as some of the many funky pieces of software here. Doing most of the heavy lifting here is actually this little program that I found a while back. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Is it Keisoku? It's got like the Kei and Keitai and Soku for speed, but it's not actually a word as I understand it. But either way, this little program here actually allows you to dump CDs and take and like save them to the hard drive. Now you might be thinking, oh well, you can do something like that with, you know, daemon tools or whatever, but here's something special about this particular program. You can actually take the audio files and change the quality of them, right? So you don't have to dump like the pure CD audio and have like it take up a ton of space on the hard drive. You can actually compress the audio quality, and so it actually is useful for saving space and using less CPU. As you can see, I have some of my games and software here. Not all of them, but I got some of them, and I can basically show you how it works real quick actually. Let's say we want to play Tokimeki Memorial. We just go ahead over here, we do mount, it has to be D. That's the other thing, when it comes to these games, a lot of them for like proper audio, even though Tokimeki Memorial doesn't count in this case, but for most games of this era that use CD audio, they depend on being in the D drive, otherwise the audio doesn't work for some reason. Don't know why that is, but it must be the result of hard coding something. And just like that, without needing the CD for my beloved Tokimeki Memorial Forever With You for Windows 95, I can just play the game. And it's super useful, so like you can just take this with you, because the battery works, and just play it wherever you want. You know, you're bored on a plane? Bring your old ThinkPad and play Tokimeki Memorial. Let's see, I haven't played this save file in forever, holy crap. Oh, there we go. There we go, we're gonna give her White Day, or Valentine's Day, whatever. I actually can't remember if it's White Day or Valentine's Day. Anyways, that was kind of embarrassing because I haven't played Tokimeki Memorial in forever, so I don't really know what I was doing, but I gave Katagiri her White Day present, I think. Of course, if you're playing games like Tokimeki Memorial that use MIDI instead of CD audio, well, you gotta have a good MIDI device, right? And some laptops, definitely older ones, did come with like the Yamaha OPL3 SAX or something chip. Some of them had the ESS chip. I can't remember what it's called, but I really like the ESS chip. It sounds, it's not for everybody, but I think it sounds pretty good, at least with specific games. A lot of these later laptops, they just don't have sound chips with really any good MIDI devices, right? Like this thing has a Sound Max of some sort on it, and all it is basically just a bootleg Microsoft Wavetable whatever chip built into it. So one of the nice things about these laptops though that they're newer is they have a lot more processing power, and so you're able to run something like the Roland Virtual Sound Canvas. If we bring that up here, it's basically just a virtual like MIDI device, and it actually sounds really good if you ask me. And there's all these like different options you can do with it, right? So you can change the sound set. You can change it to an SC88 Pro, an SC88, an SC55. I imagine the higher you go up, because it seems to have a bunch of different sounds, the more CPU it's going to use. But again, we have like a 1.6 gigahertz Pentium Mobile something or other. Like, it's perfectly fine for this. And let's go to device. There's the other ones. There's something here. Here we go, performance. You can change the sampling rate. You can change how much CPU percentage it uses. Just stuff like that. Like, it's really useful. And like I said, it sounds really good. Either way, it definitely sounds a lot better than just like the Microsoft Wavetable synth or whatever stupid like built-in Realtek or SoundMax MIDI thing comes with this stuff. And it is kind of a necessary thing if you want to run some of these older games, right? Another fun piece of software is the Kokoro Toshokan communication library. This is another one of those applications that uses MIDI for the music. As I said, like, it sounds pretty decent. Like, all of this is basically being emulated, which is really cool. But anyways, the fun little thing about this program is that you can actually use it to like categorize any sort of books and stuff you have. I believe we go here, we can probably see all of the stuff that we have. Let's see, let's take a look at the details for Love Live Sunshine. Is this the third one? I can't tell. Let's see. You can basically just get some basic details about the collection of whatever sort of books you have or magazines that you have. And as you add more and more, it actually unlocks more and more, like, I guess, little extras in the application. You don't actually need it to get through the whole mini visual novel part of it. But if you want to unlock like more CGs and stuff, you have to keep adding books, which is kind of a novel little idea if you ask me. There's also a calendar function. I don't really remember what it does. I think it's basically just to remind you to, like, if you plan on buying something, if it's going to release on a certain day, like, you can check and remind yourself. Like, there's a whole plan. Here's the fun part that I like. There's the visual drama series. As you can see, I've unlocked all that. It was nice to read through all that because, right, it's extra lore on top of like the manga and the show. They also have like little animations as well, which was cool. Hold on. Anyway, I'm just a big fan of Kokoro Toshokan, and I always thought it was a really cute and sweet little series, even if it was very short-lived. So to be able to have somewhere to kind of go and get more content is really cool. But what about visual novels? Well, remember that first visual novel I ever read that I was telling you guys about? Well, it may actually be this one right here. The problem here is that Sister Princess is what's known as a bishoujo-ge, which I don't really know if a visual novel and a bishoujo-ge are kind of the same thing. But what I do know is that both this visual novel I'm about to show you and Sister Princess played basically about the same. You had dialogue options. You got to choose what you wanted to do, and technically both are voiced over, though this particular one is not voiced over. Oh, and of course, there were many characters to choose from. Yes, that's right. ToHeart was the very first visual novel I ever read. It took me like 3 months to do one character's route, and I was starting to do a different character's route because I was very interested in what Demi's route was like, but I never really finished it. That's kind of when I fell off, and I never really went back, unfortunately. Let's see how this looks in full screen. I don't think it's gonna look too good. Hey, you know what? It's actually not that bad. What? That looks not half bad at all. Again, this is why we use lower resolution screens. One of the really nice things too about having the Radeon Mobility 7500 is that when you have sort of these graphical effects of like sprites coming in and out and things in the background, normally with like 2D accelerators of the time, it's really kind of jittery, it doesn't look great, but everything here is very smooth, as you can see. The transitions and everything are really, really smooth, even at full screen. So it's kind of a surreal experience because I only ever played this on like a Celeron 333 laptop. So to see it kind of move so fluidly is really, really cool. Man, I would be lying if I said I understood every single little thing that's going on right now. And it's sad because like I spent so much of my time studying the script of this game to really understand it. And yeah, I haven't been keeping up. It used to be really easy for me to reread this game because like I'd been through it once. But now I'm struggling with certain words on the screen. Oh, this is the good part. This is the good part. Wait, where is she? Come on, show me Kotone. Yeah, let's go. This is a Kotone household only. I will admit, with the English translation release of ToHeart ToHeart Remastered, I'm probably not going to come back to this and try and do Remi's route because I'll be even more lazy to do it. The option is still there, so there you go. Visual novel number 1, but what about another really, really nice visual novel? Unfortunately, I cannot play the BGM music too loud because it'll probably get copyrighted, but that's right, Kanon, an amazing visual novel by Key. I think it came out in 1999, sometime in early 1999. What a great visual novel. And once again, it looks really, really decent on this screen, especially in full screen, of course. So if I do want to go back and do Ayu's route, because I actually haven't done it, I did Nayuki's first. Perfect system to do this on because it looks great, although I still think that it's best played on a CRT. But of course, not everything is about visual novels and cute little one-off applications. There's also games. The Queen of Heart 99, I think, is actually kind of a somewhat popular sort of underground Doujin fighting game. I know Eternal Fighter Zero is another popular one, but I'm pretty sure like I know a reasonable amount of people who have played the Queen of Heart, but don't really know too much about ToHeart. I haven't played this game in forever, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm gonna get my ass handed to me because I do not remember any of the keys or what to do. As you're seeing right here, right now. Oh god. I promise I'm not a poser. Although when it comes to fighting games, I absolutely am. I did grow up with Dead or Alive Ultimate. I was not good at it, but I enjoyed... Whoa! I definitely enjoyed looking at the girls. Whoa! That was some... Whoa! Boom! Look at that. Ooh. It's coming back to me now. Nah, I'm just button mashing. I'm gonna be real with you. How do I do that? Come on. Nope, I'm dead. Wait, no, I'm stupid. I won. I won. Whoa, we gotta do it again. We gotta do it again. Oh, yeah, see, like that. Boom, 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 boom. No, we're so close! We're so close, we're so close. Boom. Nah, I made the computer easy. I suck at this. Alright, enough of that. But of course, there's fun little trinkets, and you may have noticed some of them on my desktop already. There's things like desktop icons, sounds, screensavers and stuff. I actually do have a lot of theming software, and I really miss the days of that when like people would come together and make cool little applications and theming programs and icons, data, stuff like that. We just don't do that anymore. It's unfortunate. The most you can hope for these days is like a wallpaper, and that's about it. But yeah, back in the day, if you were a hardcore otaku, there were many like software applications and stuff, both official and unofficial, that would help you like theme your desktop or have interesting little like themed applications. You'll see what I'm talking about in a minute here. Like they would give you stuff from like clocks, desktop mascots, calendars, screensavers, even wallpapers, some sounds. Like it was really, really cool. It was big enough that even Konami was in on it. They released a bunch of like desktop like theming accessories and stuff for Tokimeki Memorial. And they didn't just do it once or twice or 3 times. but I think like 4 or 5 times. Crazy. I actually did just buy, like very recently, a new little fun sort of application of this nature to mess with, but I kind of realized the problem. And believe me, I already tried, it doesn't work. So I guess we're not looking at desktop Miku Miku today, but one such group that did a lot of fun little applications and such for key and leaf titles was known as MCA Kobo. Their series of applications called萌えキャラクタアクセサリーズ, of which they released a good 7 or so volumes of. And as you can tell, like, it wasn't just a couple applications and stuff per volume. Like, you got a lot of stuff. Really, really cool. But there was definitely some interesting little applications that they had in here. For example, there was one called Hello Message, which actually took over the dialog boxes and stuff of Windows. And this only worked for Windows 98, I believe. But you actually saw it earlier, unless I didn't include the clip. Let's say we want to, I don't know, run an application, but it doesn't exist or something. The dialog box is completely replaced by Kotone telling me this. I've gone ahead and started some of these silly little applications, but another really cool one was one called Active Copy. Oh god. Anyways, so let's say we wanted to copy some files. Let's get a bigger file here. Maybe we'll take this folder, right? So when we copy it, watch what happens. Do paste. You get this. And you apparently get Shiho. But yeah, it was little applications like that that added fun to your desktop and even tweaks to a certain extent. Like, I would argue that's kind of like a personalization tweak. Really cool stuff though, like I didn't even know you could modify that. But yeah, some series actually got whole desktop themes with like additional applications and stuff, and Chobits was one of them. I really liked this series too. Gee, I wonder why. But they actually have a whole theming application. I gotta find it here. I think it's the accessories menu with themes built into it. There's the wallpaper, desktop, themes. There we go. Like they have whole entire themes with sounds and stuff. Really crazy. Here's another fun one. It's called Cheese Room. And you basically get to have your own, I guess for lack of a better term, VPET Chi. I don't really know how it works. You kind of just leave it open and then answer questions, and she kind of remembers things like, oh, she's asking me if I like bunnies. I love bunnies. And then she'll remember that. I don't know when that comes into handy or when that comes into play exactly. Okay, she wants to be with me more than anyone else. We love to hear it. Thank you, Chi. You can change your outfit and stuff. Oh, she's very talkative today. She remembered a word. Necklace, school, sushi. Let's do necklace. What's a necklace? Something you wear. There we go. But you can teach her dumb things too. Let's see. Kawaii, kakkoi, no kawaii. There we go. She'll remember. So I guess you can like teach her dumb stuff too. I don't really know what happens if you teach her dumb stuff, but it's one of those things that you're kind of supposed to leave running in the background and it pings you. I think you can actually set it up to like connect your email account and stuff, and she'll read you emails or something. But I mean, yeah, could you imagine like companies these days pushing out a piece of software like this? Like, hey, have your own VPET, I don't know, so-and-so character from a series. Like, we're not even talking Pokemon or something like that. Like an actual just like sort of slice of life series. Oh, there's also one little interesting thing I want to show you. There is a different mascot in the Japanese version of Microsoft Office. If we go to help, is there the assistant? There we go. Display. There he is. You get a dolphin. The dolphin replaces Clippy by default, but you can still use Clippy. It's just the dolphin is an extra one, and its name is Kaeru, which is interesting. Sounds like Kyle. There's Robot. Mini. Rocky, yeah. And then we have this teacher girl here, and I'm not gonna lie, I don't really know how to say her name. It's something Ko Sensei. So there you go, Japanese names. Don't even bother trying to learn them. You're never gonna get them. I guess before I shut things down, I should show you a couple of funny little screensavers, or rather, just cool little screensavers. You guys remember screensavers? I sure as hell do. Once again, not something you get today. Which doesn't make any sense because with the rise of OLED screens being used with computers now, you would think that screensavers would be making a comeback so that you don't wear out your screen. I guess wear out isn't the proper term here. It's more so that you don't get burn-in. If you use the screen, you are going to, I guess, degrade the pixels. I mean, most of these screensavers are pretty simple, but they do a pretty decent job. No static color in the background, things moving, you know, it's a screensaver. What else can I say? Some of the less cool screensavers were ones like this, where they would just take like a picture and do like CapCut-esque transitions. And they wouldn't even make it full screen, which I always thought was kind of stupid. I thought I had a couple more unique screensavers compared to what I just showed you. I definitely do, it's just I guess I forgot to install them, or I haven't found them yet or something. Like, I know at one point I had them all in one system. I just don't remember which CD contains what anymore. So one thing that I really can't stress enough for convenience is the fact that it has a working battery. As I may or may not have mentioned, just so many of the laptops that I bought from Japan had flat dead batteries. And while you can revive some of them, oftentimes what happens is when the BMS completely loses like all charge, it just doesn't come back to life. Well, that'll about do it for this little ThinkPad laptop. I'm happy that I finally have some sort of environment that I can basically come to at any time I want, whether it be for investigating some old software that I found, or for hopelessly trying to get back into the habit of doing a little bit more than just focusing on studying a language and actually using it. Now that I have this laptop done and complete, I think there's only one thing left to do with it. Psych! Anime's cringe!